Welcome to Connecting the Dots podcast, brought to you by The Collective. I am your host, Grace McNamara. Together, we'll look at business like a sports team. We'll connect the dots between every player in the team, the audience, and the essential plays that are often overlooked by leaders. With a strong gender-balanced focus, we'll bring together discussions from across many markets that connect women's health, purchasing powers, leadership strategies, and business growth. We'll be chatting with thought leaders, executives, and champions of modern business to uncover the stories of challenge, success, learning, and privilege, and what's coming down the track in our evolving world. Together, we'll connect strategies of best practice and celebrate the rising leaders ready to take us into the new era.
Hello and welcome. Thank you guys for joining me. Emilie Cristini from the sunny Bordeaux region of France, Professor Otavio Berwanger from the sunny region of London today, and I'm bringing in from a sunny Ireland. So thank you guys for joining me. This is exciting because I know we're working together and I'm really, really loving working with you guys first off, but also making sure that we're building something that is quite exciting for the future. So let's get straight into it. Emilie, connect the dots for me from where you started in your career to where you are today, because it's been fabulous.
Sure. Thank you, Grace, before starting to having us today. So to connect the dot, I started my journey in India with a startup at a time where when the digital landscape was still like in its very early stage. Then cutting my teeth in digital project with agencies like TBWA, Macan World Group, where I led major digital campaigns for global brands such as L'Oréal Paris. After that, I've been joining L'Oréal. I dove deep into digital transformation, launching revolutionary apps like Makeup Genius, which brought like augmented reality to millions of beauty lovers worldwide, and pioneering influencer partnership that set new standards in the industry because that was not very common at that time. And from there, I shifted to luxury world, where I led the digital transformation of Bernard Magrey prestigious wine, hospitality, and art group in Bordeaux. Where my mission was to create like a seamless and memorable experience for customers across continents, from Europe to the US to China. And then we had the opportunity with my husband to move to Brazil. So it didn't took me long to drop everything and make that move because I'm a globetrotter. And just like that, we started a new journey. So I was about to sign at L'Oréal, and I was in the final stage of my contract negotiation when I met with GF and Otavio, who are the two co-founders of Elfie. And I was at a point of my life in my career where I had like nothing to lose. So I decided to go all in. It was a gamble, but it's one I don't regret today. So first launching our operation in Brazil from scratch, building partnership, leading acquisition campaigns, driving adoption of our health app for tens of thousands of users. And today, I'm the Global Pharma Partnership Director. So I orchestrate the international expansion, working hand in hand with pharmaceutical partners to make health and wellness accessible and engaging for users around the world. So a journey that has always been around like connecting people, technology, and purpose. And I can't wait to share more today with you.
Love it. I just love the fact that you've traveled so much as well, and so big organizations with so much impact. Fabulous. Okay, well let's come back to that. But I do appreciate you mentioned there JF and Ophir being quite convincing. Definitely very convincing guys, and doing something phenomenal. So Professor Otavio, over to you. Connect the dots for us from where you started to where you are today.
Thank you very much. Look, I'm a cardiologist and a clinical trialist, and I also have a PhD in clinical epidemiology and study methodology. I started my career as a doctor, as a cardiologist in Brazil, and then I fell in love with clinical trials, evidence-based medicine, and research, and now for a couple of years now, I've dedicated myself entirely to research and development, especially large-scale clinical trials in my field, which is cardiology and cardiovascular diseases and cardiometabolic diseases. For many years, I was the director of the academic research organization of the Albert Einstein Hospital in medical school in São Paulo, Brazil, where I used to live before moving to London. 2 years and a half ago, I moved to London, UK. I currently wear two hats, which complement each other. One is an academic. I'm a chair, which is a full professor in clinical trials at Imperial College London, where I develop my research and my teaching commitments as a professor of medicine. And I also the executive director of the George Institute for Global Health UK, and also a member of the George Institute for Global Health executive leadership team. Imperial, it's a world-class university. It's a phenomenal place, very innovative, very collaborative. That runs, impactful projects, not only in the UK, but in many countries. Currently, the second best university in the world. So it's a true privilege to work here.
Wow.
It's number one in the UK and Europe at the moment. And the George Institute is a very large, not-for-profit global research institute. We have offices, of course, the office here in London, but we also have a large office in Sydney, Australia, and two offices in India, one in Delhi, one in Hyderabad. Together with our academics, our corporate services, our fellows, we are over 1,000 staff working globally. The George does also global projects, including my field, clinical trials, and within the George, I lead an initiative called Innovative Clinical Trials Hub, which is all about transforming the way we deliver large-scale trials. But the George also does other types of research, for example, health systems research. Now we're starting planetary health, and we have research programs, which are global research programs in different areas, including, for example, cardiovascular diseases, once again, my field, but also renal diseases, intensive care medicine, women's health, health systems research, multimorbidity, stroke and dementia, mental health. So a lot of projects and collaborations in over 50 countries. I agree with Emilie. It's great to travel and to meet colleagues from different countries, and we do this all the time. And this is something, I truly value. I currently divide myself like 50%. I'm an executive director and manager, so of course managing the UK office and also participating in a couple of committees within Imperial and also with the executive leadership team, at the George. The other half, I'm a researcher, an academic. I serve it as the chair of the executive committee of many large-scale cardiovascular trials. And it is always a privilege. It's always a collaboration. Research is always, I say, a team effort. So it's not just about you and your interests. It's about providing reliable answers and collaborating with different colleagues from different settings.
Love it. I feel like Brazil is coming up a lot, so maybe it's calling me. I may have to go back, go down to the Brazil for a trip. Otavio, wow. And again, a phenomenal background. I didn't realize that Imperial was so broad as well in relation to so many sites and offices. That's probably new information for a lot of our listeners. So thank you for sharing that. Quickly, Emilie, we're working together the last number of weeks. It's been fantastic, but give us some of the breakdown of what is Elfie, because our listeners are thinking this side of the world, on the European side, are still learning what is Elfie and why is it so different, and why have we both got convinced by Ophir and JF, join and dedicate and create the future. Give us that whistle stop.
Yeah, so Elfie is a free medically endorsed digital health app that is designed to help users monitor and improve their health, and particularly focusing on chronic conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, obesity, dyslipidemia. And our vision is to become the #1 super health app in the world. So free, gamified, and medically proven. That's the three main points. And why Elfie is so unique, it's because, and engaging, it's because it's the free medically endorsed app that rewards users with real prices for tracking their health, using gamification methods to motivate them both healthy individuals and chronic patients to stick to their self-monitoring plan and to do the lifestyle changes that they need to get healthier. So unlike other health tech solution, Elfie is ads-free. We do not sell any product. We don't sell user data, and we ensure that everyone, and regardless of their health status or medication, can earn the same rewards simply by honest participation to the app. So we aim to make self-care engagement accessible for everyone. And as I was mentioning about like becoming the super health app in the world, because we have study, and maybe Otavio can build on that, but we have studies that demonstrate that today digital solutions such as Elfie has a real impact on patient health and can really help them achieving better adherence and better quality of life.
It is amazing, isn't it? The super app. I mean, it sounds so simple in so many ways that, you know, we as individuals have many nuances, change lifestyle factor and conditions and medications. Like that's just most people in the world. But we haven't had a really good application before that's helped us track, support, and reward and be engaged. So yeah, it is pretty impressive. And as you pointed out, I mean, working with independents like Otavio and other partners, it really is changing the landscape. So yeah, it's very exciting. On that, Otavio, what can you share in relation to that evidence base that Emilie talks about? And I know we talk about RCT, and you sit as an independent in review process. So give us some context there around the research, RCT, and so on.
Yeah, no, it's very important when I'm at Elfie, and Elfie now has a partnership with what we call a consortium of academic research organizations called Cognitum, which includes the George, includes Imperial, includes Einstein, the ones I mentioned, but also includes colleagues in Sri Lanka, Remedium One, colleagues from the University of Cape Town, colleagues in India, the CDC Center, colleagues from the Bain Research Institute in the US. And I think one of the objectives is to generate reliable science and support, development of more innovative trials, to the development, for example, of a platform for delivering these trials more seamlessly and more pragmatically and more efficiently. So developing like an Elfie research platform. But in terms of the data already available itself, Emilie is absolutely right. We now have systematic reviews of randomized trials suggesting that mobile applications can improve risk factor control, can improve adherence. There are a couple of systematic reviews for example, in the cardiometabolic space, in hypertension, diabetes, patients with established cardiovascular disease, heart failure. There are also trials suggesting that if you use a gamified approach, you can make mobile applications more efficient. So there's a trial in high cardiovascular risk patients called the Be Active trial that was published in Circulation in 2024. So I think there's also now guidelines from the European Society of Cardiology for chronic stable coronary artery disease, recommending as a 1A indication the use of mobile apps to improve, once again, risk factor control and adherence. In terms of Elfie, it's interesting to see that once again they try to make their recommendations based on science, so based on evidence, based on guidelines. So I think that's one important component. Number two, they have real-world data suggesting that patients who engage with Elfie over time, they have better adherence, better control of risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, LDL levels. And that is very consistent with the evidence from previous systematic reviews and trials. And finally, I think there is a willingness to do science, not only through the partnership with the AROs that I mentioned, but also by developing their own trial. So Elfie is conducting in partnership with Einstein, an ARO from Brazil that I mentioned before, and also the Imperial Clinical Trials Unit, so a trial in both Brazil and Vietnam. So it's an international trial, a randomized trial in patients with uncontrolled hypertension, taking at least one drug. And they're comparing the use of Elfie on top of standard of care versus standard of care alone. And the follow-up is around 6 months. They have over 900 patients recruited, so the trial is fully recruited. Hopefully, results will be available soon. That's the expectation. The trial is being led by a brilliant colleague of mine from Brazil called Carla Santo from Einstein, a cardiologist who is specialized in leading these trials with mobile interventions. But we have a phenomenal steering committee, which is part of the trial. And the primary outcome is systolic blood pressure levels, but the trial is also assessing percentage of patients who are controlled according to different guidelines. Also adherence, diastolic blood pressure, and other important, exploratory outcomes. And yeah, I think results will definitely inform, recommendations from guidelines, will inform practice. But I think that's the important thing. That there are several apps out there. So I think number one, because the Elfie already has embedded recommendations from guidelines, and they're also conducting their own trial to assess the effectiveness of the app. I think it makes it very different from, your other multiple mobile applications that are available.
Yeah, Emilie, add to that for me, because the data is very different. This, as Otavio mentioned here, there's loads of apps on the App Store. There's loads that are targeting hypertension and diabetes and separately, steps and sleep separately and everything else. But as I said, a super app all in one, which does bring the data to be very different. Impact as well as engagement, retention, those numbers are vastly different to what I've seen from any other application.
It is, and as Otavio was mentioning, and the main goal of Elfie is to drive impact, and in order to have impact on chronic patient users, you cannot be only treating one of their main concern, which could be hypertension, diabetes, because most of the patient, they have comorbidities. They have to conduct lifestyle changes as well. They have to do sport. They have to change their nutrition. So that's why, again, we want to become this super health app that is able to carry everything at the same place, also to facilitate the support of those patients.
And give me some more context around the ecosystem of healthcare that we're engaging in. Otavio mentioned research and the Elfie research platform ultimately and how that's building out. There's also Elfie Care, which is going to work a lot more with clinicians. We have Elfie Work, which is also working with a lot of the research and pharma space as well. But give us some of the context there, especially on where you're focused on working with pharma, because the world, I think every person in the world has this kind of love-hate relationship, right? We know medications are essential to save lives, full stop. Vaccinations essential to save lives. But we have this nervousness around data sometimes where I'm like, and also we talked about this on the very first podcast with JF and Ophir. Not always are women included, and I'm a big advocate for everyone that's listening who's probably sick of hearing me. We need more women in research. We need better medications personalized to us. We're complicated. We have more complicated physiology because of our cycles and everything else. So it's an important factor that has to be baked in. So sorry, Emilie, give us some context there about how we're working with pharma to do better for the future.
So yeah, today's biggest challenge is clearly patient awareness and patient adherence to chronic disease treatment. And that's why Elfie is partnering also with pharmaceutical companies to help improve patient awareness and adherence to chronic disease treatment. So we address the major challenge that many patients stop their medication or are unaware of their condition. That's even worse because you cannot be treating a condition if you are not aware of. So pharma companies are sponsoring Elfies in order for us to remain free and to drive better health outcomes. So thanks to anonymized real-world data, we can demonstrate that beyond the pill solution can have an impact on healthcare, to healthcare provider, to payers, and Elfie remain neutral and always patient focus. Because as I mentioned, we want to drive impact.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? And thank you for explaining that. Anonymized aspect is obviously huge. People are worried about their data, understandably. But likewise, we've got some great partners, and I'm excited to see more of the partners come to life who are ultimately funding, as I said, the super app and people understanding the full breadth of their health, whether it's condition that they're diagnosed with or not diagnosed with yet. And I know we talk about diabetes a lot. I'm sure 80% of people with type 2 diabetes aren't even diagnosed or unaware. So there's a huge factor yet that we need to educate and support and bring people on the journey of. Otavio, I talk about all the time health and the gender balance factor as well. Give us some of the context there. Add to what Emilie's share in relation to that space of pharma, gender balance, making sure we're catering for people and our physiological differences.
This is such an important topic, and thanks for raising this. And it's very important for us. For example, at the George, we have a very active women's health group, and one of the objectives is exactly analyzing data using, especially using a sex and gender disaggregated approach. So we do that in all our trials, in our other health system studies, etc. And we were able to analyze data sets from many interventions in different conditions. And you're absolutely right. And one of the problems that we cannot take it for granted that just because something works in men, it will be applicable to women or to both sex and genders. That's not absolutely not true. And one of the problems, by the way, of current trials, the traditional way of conducting trials is that currently, for example, in my field, cardiology, over 70%, actually 77% of trial participants are Caucasian male patients. Obviously, we want Caucasian male patients joining trials. We need that because, of course, they suffer a major burden of cardiometabolic conditions, but the burden is equally important in women from different regions of the world. And so we need to change that. We need to improve trial access. So we're trying to do that by streamlining, for example, trial procedures and screening processes and, streamlining eligibility criteria, using a decentralized approach where you improve trial access and you bring trials close to patients' homes. We also have systematic approaches to make sure that we have, equal representation in trials. And when we conduct the analysis, we also plan the trial in terms of the sample size to be able to also provide reliable answers using a sex and gender disaggregated data sets. So yeah, you cannot take it for granted that men and women, for example, should use the same dose or the same regimen in terms of and you cannot take it for granted that the response will be similar. So I think this sex and gender disaggregated analysis is absolutely necessary. We also have another initiative which was funded by the Wellcome Trust in the UK, but now expanding to other fields, which is the Message Project. I'll definitely recommend that you talk to them, but it's a group within the George doing a phenomenal work in terms of sex and gender equity and equality in medical research. And we did some important partnerships in the UK, not only with the Wellcome Trust, obviously, but with major funders and also with high impact journals. So I think we try to embed, this lens in everything we do at the George. And that's very, very important. I couldn't agree more.
Excellent. That's great to hear because people don't know that, Otavio, for sure. The rest of us outside of the world of academia and clinical trials, we're kind of, I suppose, basing our assumptions on the past where we understand we have more complex physiology, which means you've been excluded. So it's really good to hear that the structures are in place. It's already happening. There's much more robust research going on for gender as well as sex, as well as ethnicity and across the global structure.
Yeah, and you raise an important point. Actually, diversity is important, and the diversity obviously include sex and gender, which are absolutely important, both from a biological and also from a social perspective. And obviously, I believe research belongs to the society, so the societal benefit it's always as important as the biological benefit or the biological effect. So that's very important. But you're absolutely right. We need equal geographical representation. That's very important. And race and ethnicity, educational level. So is diversity from, like the word suggests, from a
Oh,
very broad perspective, it's not restricted just to one thing, right?
yeah. And that's a really good point. Emilie, I know a lot of your team are based in different parts of the world. And I typically sit in, suppose, I say westernized societies, right? Like I've lived between Ireland, UK, US. I've lived in China for a while, but your team is very diverse as well and different in location. And that's been super important because one of the things that what I'm loving as well is making sure that we're getting the people that need it the most. And often, having more money means you have more access to healthcare, and that's not right. So you're also being a significant part of balancing out the scales. Can you give us some context there of your role, your team, and how we're helping people that typically would be excluded?
Yeah, so I guess my team is a good representation of the global culture, because I have some people working in Brazil, some people working in Egypt, some people working in Turkey, some people working in Singapore, some people working in Vietnam, soon in Latin America, because we are launching there new countries, and also in Southeast Asia. So in terms of broad culture, I think we cannot do more more exhaustive than this one.
Yeah.
Mostly working with women, so not a choice. But it's also good for the diversity. In the engineer side, we have more men, so I'm like balancing the balancing the number of women in the company. What else can I say? So
Yeah, well, your team are great. I mean, this is the beauty of getting to know them over the last few weeks. I mean, if you hire the best person for the job, it naturally somehow balances itself out. So, as you said, that's quite a diverse team. Give us some of the context around. I know diabetes is a big factor right now that we're leaning into as well. So, can you give us some of the space, some of the details around diabetes and how we're likewise engaging people who might never have been involved in research? But also, how do we make sure that they're feeling like they're part of a journey and they're getting education and they're getting better and they're getting to understand diabetes all at the same time? How does that bit work?
So both I will say both diabetic and hypertensive patients, who are our two main focus. Historically, hypertension and diabetes since more than 2 years now. So we try to support like the patient in their global journey. So creating awareness online, both online and at the doctor consultory, because we work also with doctors and hospital to raise the awareness about digital solution and the positive impact it can bring to those patients. And once they enroll into Elfie, we create a personalized plan for them. So we guide them through their journey, so they know what they have to do when they have to measure their blood glucose. When we talk about diabetic patients, they know what they can eat, what they can't eat with our nutrition program. They are like motivated to do more exercise thanks to the map features and to the steps features we have within Elfie. At the same time, they earn coins that they can redeem. We publish daily some articles, quizzes in order to raise the awareness about their condition, but also on the way for them to get like healthier habits, what they have to change, because it's not just about measuring your blood glucose and taking your medication. It's about like changing your whole behavior and your whole daily habits in order to get healthier.
I love it. I really do love the fact you're bringing in all the treatment options alongside lifestyle medicine and not being you have one or the other and not having data sitting in different pockets. So
and that's why I was talking about like being the super health app. It's because it's not just about treating medication adherence, which is like the biggest challenge in this field, but it's about like making the patient aware of his condition and all the changes he has to do in order to get like better quality of life.
So people that typically wouldn't be able to afford high healthcare are getting not only free access to a platform with ability to monitor, free access to education around that condition. They're ultimately get supported and reminded in order to understand their medication and making sure that they take their medication to manage that condition better. But they're also getting additional rewards for doing that. So it really does work, and it makes so much sense that free at the point of care, accessibility, affordability, and access is huge. So I'm really, really excited with it. Emilie, for you, what's the most exciting piece of the future, actually? Because you're sitting in the bucket, the space of understanding the new roadmap as well, and all the new things that are coming, and you're seeing the impact of the research, you're seeing the people, you hear the stories. What's the most exciting piece of the future?
I'll say the potential to scale globally and to revolutionize chronic disease management, because as Professor Otavio was mentioning, and as I was mentioning earlier, we want to drive impact, and that's why we are like conducting different studies in different countries, also like publishing real world evidence, because we want to demonstrate this impact. And we want to demonstrate this impact not just for us, not just for the patient, but also to change the way we care about patients with chronic conditions.
It's brilliant. Otavio, what about you? What do you think is the most exciting piece where Elfie fits in as well?
Well, I guess there are a couple of components. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm very passionate about, developing a robust research platform like Elfie Research to enable us to deliver trials which are decentralized and very efficient. I think also, I do agree, I think actionable data, right, is considered now the world's most valuable resource, and we're creating a very large data sets in many countries that can not only inform decisions in clinical practice, but also it can also open access to further research and to further development. So I guess it's having like a large data sets and other capabilities, I think allows you to, number one, inform decisions in clinical practice and improve patient care, which is the ultimate goal. I agree with Emilie, but also enables you to do more research and in a much more efficient manner. So I guess, yes, further developments. Once again, I'm passionate about the research component, but also I think the ability to have high quality, actionable data, informed decisions, it's something which I think is clearly unique. And all, once again, with a very scientific and evidence-based focus. So it's not just technology for the sake of technology, but it's technology driving impact. I guess that's the thing.
And I'm with you on this, right? The research angle is a super important, and we have to make sure that, as you mentioned, the evidence of the past is the format what we're doing today, but the evidence of the future is data driven, and it's personalized to people that are all the nuances across the world. What I've often seen of health tech companies that the research trials, first of all, are tiny. Often we're seeing 100 odd people in a research trial, and we've all been there, right? We're looking at trials of 12 people, for example, last year. How does this represent me? It doesn't. So this is important. You mentioned over 900 in the study, in the RCT study alone. But Emilie, your team have recruited over 650,000 people into Elfie. So this is not a small population, and this is only getting going.
Yeah, that's just the beginning, as we are about to launch new countries and also to cover like new therapeutic areas pretty soon. In order again to cover all the needs from the patients that are like already using the solution or about to use the solution.
Yeah, and I know there's probably, I'm going to say 20 odd countries it's already available in, right? Including 20 odd languages, everything from, Arabic to Chinese to Romanian and everything else. There's a whole plethora of languages as well as countries available. So the super app is, people can listen to this, can download and get started and go for it. And hopefully we're coming back in a few weeks, if not a few months' time, Otavio, and we're talking about more research and more clinical trials in more areas as well, because there's just a never-ending list here. And this data can be, I think what's important for me as well as a big massive data set like this can be used in multiple different ways to inform multiple different solutions. It's not one data set for one purpose.
That's right. I think it's multi-purpose. And the other thing, some applications that I saw embedded in Elfie recently are quite interesting, I guess. Number one, having an AI-based digital coach that can speak any language. I think it's something brilliant because I think you're leveraging AI for the good, right, to improve patient care, and is an absolutely brilliant application. I guess the other one is the possibility of measuring vital signs, and it's like blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, just doing a face scan. Obviously, that requires and further validation to be something that will become the standard of care. But I see lots of potential, and I have no doubt we will get there. So it's another way of, self-monitoring, which could be quite handy for
Yeah.
patients. And the other application, sorry, that I was mentioning that I came across recently, that were recently embedded in Elfie was a heart failure decision support tool, because I think this can be quite powerful in terms of self-monitoring. So you have all the guideline recommendations embedded in a very interactive decision support tool that can inform decisions for doctors' decisions, patients' decisions. And there's a similar one for obesity. There's a similar one for, healthy lifestyle, including diet and physical activity. And I think that's brilliant, because I think it's a smart way of, literally a smart way of, driving change in nudging people, to get, better, to start, making meaningful changes in how they, eat and how they exercise, and also making sure they take their treatments as prescribed, and also get educated about, their condition and the risks, and all those self-monitoring components. So it's as you mentioned, it's quite comprehensive, right? So it's not focusing on just, I think Emilie mentioned that, it's not just focusing on adherence, but it has a much broader scope, which once again is useful for clinical practice, for quality improvement, but it is also very useful for research.
Yeah.
So, for example, we definitely developing a research platform can enable the conduct of very efficient trials, but we also do other types of studies called implementation science studies, where we test these decision support tools. So an application like the heart failure application can definitely drive change from a systems perspective, which is quite interesting.
Great shout out, because to your point, the AI being used for insights. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, and most people aren't trained in healthcare in any stretch of the imagination, right? So we don't know what's normal. And I think, Emilie, you're probably like me, right? We've been told over the years lots of stuff that's normal and not normal. And reality is, what's normal for me may not be normal for you, but doesn't make it not normal. So I think we're able to leverage our data and our trends and get understanding of what's changing for us, what's not changing. And I think that insights is really, really valuable, especially people who, may not have access to a healthcare practitioner all the time. They can ask those intelligent questions. What does this mean? Like, what does this data, this metric mean? Am I trending? Is it a concern? Should I go see a doctor? The stuff that we may be worried about, but not have the tools and information available at our fingertips. So the insights is huge. Obviously, the very complex clinical trials and data with it, but even just your normal person who's thinking, I don't know if this is normal, or this is something I should be concerned about.
And that's the reality of the market we are in. As you say, most of the people, they don't have access daily to their practitioner, to their doctor. So it's important to be there to support them, and also being there to recall them when they have to go to visit their doctor, when there is any concern that they need to worry about. So we are not here to replace the doctor. We'll never do that. But we are here to create this awareness and also help the doctor when the patient go back to the consultory to better understand what is happening, like between two visits, and what was the behavior of the patient, to better treat him and to better care about the patient.
It's huge, isn't it? And I think we're definitely having access to tracking data like symptoms, what's normal, what's been over the last 6 weeks. It's not just recall in a clinic room over the last 6 months, 6 weeks. It's like, well, actually, here it is. I've done it in real time for 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever. So it's a much more tangible, a data point for a clinical team to go, okay, let's treat this in a way that
understanding what you have to change and how to change it, based on every vitals you enter, based on the food you entered, and based on everything. So that's why the AI, is pretty fine. It's quite huge.
The super app of the future. I think you guys are making great progress, and I'm delighted to have joined the team and be supporting in different parts of the world as well. Last question, because I know we could talk about this all day, and we could definitely spend hours, but we have busy work to get done in order to make this available for even more people. Last question is, It's always about leadership. It's always about looking at women in the workplace and spotlighting other female leaders. So Emilie, over to you. Spotlight another female leader for me, because you've been phenomenal. I'm loving working with you, and you've done amazing work already across the world. We're due a glass of wine in Bordeaux though, so we'll get that organized soon. But spotlight another female leader for me, who's also one that's amazing that I should be aware of.
For sure, I will mention one of my dearest friends, which is Vesna Kozic, with whom I've been working back a long time ago at TBWA. And she's now leading France for Braze and also Southeast Europe. So all the operation for Braze.
Fantastic. I'll get you just an introduction for that. Brilliant. Otavio, over to you. Spotlight a good female leader for me.
Well, I think I'm very privileged because we have several of them at the George and at Imperial. So I will select one to represent for our women's health group, which is Jane Hurst. She's a professor here at Imperial College and also the global director for our women's health program. And she's doing a phenomenal job in driving change and in engaging researchers, not only here in the UK, but also in Australia and India, and conducting really, really important pieces of research. So I think Jane is definitely someone that I'm very proud to work with her. Yeah.
Fantastic. Two great inspirational leaders, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I said we've a lot of work to do, and we'll be back doing this, okay, I think again in a few weeks' time, because there's so much change happening, especially with the RCT results coming out soon. So guys, thank you for today. Enjoy the sun, and we will talk again.
For sure. Thank you, Grace, for having us, and it was nice to be with you today.
Thanks for tuning in to Connecting the Dots. If today sparked a new idea, helped shift your thinking, or gave you something to take forward, share it, rate the show, or drop us a message. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. Until then, keep connecting the dots that matter.